Hello everyone, welcome to Knowledge India. How are you guys today? Please let me know if you can hear me properly. Uh, Guys, can you please comment and tell me about the sound quality? Are you able to hear me well? Okay, let me just test this. It should become okay. I think it should come fine now. All right, okay. We have a lot of content to cover. Just give me 1 minute and we will get started, guys. Okay, so today we are going to do a lot of stuff about EC2, and I hope you guys are liking this series uh, and the way we are interacting. Uh, my request to all of you is that as we are going ahead in this series, uh, you also try and practice the things which we are doing here. Okay, and uh, that way you will get you will also get a proper experience. That's very important. If like going forward you just watch the videos and you do not do it on your own, that would not be that beneficial. So that's my request. Okay, and of course if any of you have not connected with us on different platforms, I would request you to do that. Okay, now let me try and share my screen. Just give me 1 minute here. I'm sorry, I'm having a bad throat. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now, and what I wanna do further is something of this sort. Oh, I think it's readable. Okay. Hello, everyone. Let me see how many of us are here. Okay, so let us get started. We have got around 60, 70 participants now. Okay, I'm sure that you would be sharing this link with your friends. You can actually tweet this or share this on LinkedIn and request your friends to join as well. Okay, that would be support from your end. And if you can go ahead and like this video, that would be good. Okay, let us get started, guys. So in this session, we are going to talk about EC2. Uh, I'm sure if you are joining this session, you have some idea about EC2, but we want to cover a lot of stuff. Uh, as you can see on the screen, there are a few things which I'm requesting you here. I would request you to go ahead and do that. Let's look at the agenda, the topics which we are going to cover today. There's a lot to discuss. So we are going to talk about all the aspects of EC2. EC2, what is EC2? EC2 is nothing but a VM, and I'll go and talk to you about various aspects of EC2 today. That should really help you. We are not just gonna in 1 hour we are not just going to launch one instance and try to show that for an hour. Okay, I am sure all of you would have launched instances, but there are many other things related to EC2 as well. We'll try to talk about that. What are different types of AMIs, Amazon Machine Images? what I mean, what are different attributes which you should look at? Instance types. There are so many different instance types available nowadays, right? And for someone to understand what is meant by all the different instance types, you need to understand the naming convention of the instance type. So we'll talk about that. We'll decipher it for you. Um what are different types of storage volumes? EBS volume, instance store. What is the difference between the two? We'll understand that, right? Many of the times people are still unclear about when the data remains and when the data goes away and all such stuff, right? I'll try to ask you few guys few questions as well. Um, the security of EC2 instances. What are your responsibilities there? I think I should also put here customer responsibility. What is customer responsibility here? And next thing would be um, key pair. Should you use one key pair with multiple instances, or you should go ahead and use different key pairs with different instances? What should be the strategy around that? When you launch an EC2 instance, the the different attributes of EC2 instances will go and cover that. Monitoring, auto recovery, different states. What happens when you change the from one state of instance to another? What things change? What things remain there as it is? What is the importance of tags, and also the pricing at the last. We do have many items to cover, right? Um, Let me see here. We have got Prakash, Raghavendra, Hari Krishna, Praneeth, Geetika, Rata, Mahendra. Welcome everyone. I okay. So let us go ahead. What we want to do first is I want to explain you AMI with one diagram, which would make a lot of things clear to you. And further to that, we will go ahead and launch an instance quickly, and then we will come back and we'll talk about more topics. Okay, so if you see here, I'm showing you a simple diagram. In this diagram, if you see, there is you see this outer box which is there. This outer box, you can think of it as a physical host, right? A physical box which has got some amount of CPU. This one is CPU, and then you have got RAM. I don't know if you guys see my cursor. I think you are able to see my cursor. Great. So you have got, there is a physical box. It has got some amount of X amount of CPU. It has got X amount of RAM, and it also has got some amount of local disk. The local disk is the disk which is there on the physical host itself, right? That is also called as instance store. And why is it written ephemeral? What does that mean? It is uh, when you say something is ephemeral, it means that it is short-lived, right? Any data which is put on that particular storage would be lost. I mean, it is not going to be persistent. That is what it means when it says ephemeral, right? So from this host or from this physical box, if you think, there is via network, you see you have connectivity to EBS, right? EBS is your elastic block store. It is nothing but your storage volume, right? When you basically create EC2 instance, the disk which is attached to your EC2, that is your EBS volume, elastic block store. Now here is the thing, the boxes which you see at the top, right? These boxes, these are the virtual machines. uh, so EC2 is nothing but a virtual machine. That's what I mean. All of this became possible because of the virtualization technique. So at the top, what you see are virtual machines, and that's our EC2. So on one physical box, on one physical host, there can be multiple virtual machines running. And you see, it is possible that this particular virtual machine might belong to one customer and the other one belongs to other customer. I hope you're getting what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, um, so it's difficult to change the color, but what I'm saying is this particular virtual machine might belong to, let's say, customer one, and this virtual machine may belong to customer two. So on a physical host, it is possible that instances from multiple customers can actually exist. Okay, but if you think, can one instance just do something with the other instance, or can encroach into other instances area? The answer is no, it cannot do that, because there is a hypervisor running, and the work of hypervisor is to ensure that every EC2 or every VM gets the correct amount of CPU, RAM, and instance store as it is defined in its properties. Right. So we'll go ahead and look at that property. The property which I'm saying is instance type. So based on the instance type of an EC2 instance, it will get some amount of CPU, RAM, and instance store. And hypervisor will ensure that every instance gets its correct amount of CPU, RAM, and instance store. And it would not happen that instance 2 gets into the RAM of instance 1. Such things would not be possible. Okay. Now I told you that EBS, which is actually disk, which is the persistent disk offering, right? It is the disk plus it is persistent. Whereas instance store is also disk, but it is not persistent. Now EBS is connected to your VM via network. It is not there on the same physical host. It is connected via network. Understand that. This understanding is going to be very important as you go ahead and learn about few more things. Okay. Now there used to be something called EBS optimized. In some of the older instance types, we used to have an option called EBS optimized, where you can, while launching the instance, you can choose that option. Nowadays that option is not there, because by default the new generation or new instance types are coming as EBS optimized for default by default. Don't worry if you are not understanding some of those terms, because we are going to talk about it in more detail. But I wanted to give you this diagram because this kind of explains you the overall structure. This is very important to understand. Okay, so what we'll do next is uh, I will be talking about more things, but before that, we will just see a quick demo and then we'll come and cover all these topics. So give me 1 minute here, and I couldn't log in to the console before. Give me a minute. I'll just log into the console. I'm just trying to get inside the AWS account, guys. I'll take 1 minute. Okay, while we are doing that, may I request all of you to go ahead and like this video, guys, if you are watching it and if you are finding it useful, please do that. And um, if you could share it with your friends, that also would be great. All right, so I'm back here. What I need to do is, okay, I guess it should be fine. Let me just all right. You guys should see it now. Welcome, Vikram. Welcome to the family. There are many of you who have joined us as well. So if you want, you can join our channel. There is a join button. If you click there, you will be able to see the details. Read through the details, and only if you like it, then you join it. Okay. All right. So we are here inside the AWS Management Console. I actually had requested all of you to go ahead and create your AWS account so that you can also you can also go ahead and try and do things along with us. Okay. So what we'll do next is we'll spend next 10 minutes to go ahead and launch an instance. Okay. And we will understand some of the steps while we are launching that instance, right? And after that we will come back and we'll talk about more stuff. So let me go to EC2. uh, Praneeth, no, not a lot, but if you just have a good idea, I mean, some idea of virtualization, that should be enough. uh, on cloud, the whole virtualization piece is taken care by the cloud providers, so you do not need to know a lot about it. uh, but during migration, sometimes just the compatibility part, you will have to, you should know about. So that's why some idea is fine. You don't have to know a lot. Okay, we are there in the Ohio region. You can see at the top, Ohio region we are operating in. We'll go ahead and try to launch an instance. If you press here, uh, I do have a more detailed video around this, but that is somewhat old. But you can still go ahead and get a lot of stuff from that. Now here in this region, if you can see, there are so many different AMIs available. The first step is choosing the AMI. You can see that you have got 64-bit and x86 and ARM architecture. There are certain images which do support both of this, right? So you can go ahead and select. There is also that there is something here called virtualization type. So you can see virtualization type is HVM currently written. I should zoom this a bit. And earlier there used to be PV as another virtualization type, but that's kind of gone. So you can assume that you will see virtualization type as HVM only. So that's the latest one, and that's what you should use mostly. Root device type, in the same way, you can see root device type is written as EBS. This is also a bit of legacy thing, right? Uh, because earlier it was possible to have instance store also as your root device. What is the root device? Root device is the volume where your operating system gets stored, correct? That is your root device. So what do we mean by this thing? It means that when you create the instance or you create the VM or machine which we are going to create, in that the disk where the operating system sets, whether it would be EBS type or it would be instance store. That's what is meant by this particular attribute. Okay. Now the point is, guys, if you see, we did talk that instance store is ephemeral or temporary, right? So if your OS is sitting on instance store, what would happen? You cannot stop your machine. If you stop, the OS will go away, right? Because it is temporary. So but these are more of somewhat older things, you can say. Going forward, with all the latest instances, Amazon is not asking to, or I can say Amazon is not offering to go ahead and put the OS on the instance store. At least for your OS, you will always use EBS volume. Okay, so but that's why this attribute is still there. This is there for past many days. Okay, there's also something called ENA. Um, it's related to an advanced network feature which enables fast network connectivity. So if it is yes, you can be sure that, and you can see for most of it is yes now. Earlier it used to be selected, only for few AMIs it was there, others it was not there. If you are going for if you yeah so if you're going for, if you want higher performance in terms of network connectivity, go for an image which has ENA enabled as yes. Well, that is becoming a default these days. You can see as I'm scrolling, for all of the AMIs, it is yes. So if you understand a bit of history, that's how it happens. See, uh, when first only some of the AMIs will have that feature, but later on, then every AMI gets it, and that's why actually there is not much significance of keeping these attributes here, but still it is here anyway. So what we'll do is we can go ahead and select any of these instances, any of these AMIs, sorry. And you can go ahead. On the left hand side, you also see my AMIs. If you go ahead and customize something, you'll see here from the marketplace, if you want to pick something for this, there are a lot of software vendors, they sell things uh, via AWS marketplace. If you want, you can go ahead and select uh, any of the software from here. Then you will pay for its license also, of course. Okay. And there are community AMIs as well. You or me, anybody can just share an AMI to the whole community, and that would be visible here. If you are using a community AMI, please be very careful. Sometimes there might be some malicious things as well built into it. Okay, so 1 minute. All right, we also have got Gitika who has joined us now. Welcome, Gitika. There are a couple of people who have joined us. Okay, so um, all right, so let us go ahead and select one of the AMIs here and move forward. We'll try to, you know, move quickly. Okay, I'm operating in Ohio region. There is a restriction which I had put in this account which would not allow me to operate in any region other than Northern Virginia and Singapore. So that's why you saw that error. That is with the help of SCPs, service control policies. Um, we are yet to cover, of course, in this series, but there is a detailed video on organization and SCP on our channel. So that's what we have done. Okay, now I've changed my region to Northern Virginia, as you can see, and here I should be able to go ahead and select an AMI and move to next step. On this step, you can see there are so many different instance types, right? Um, an important thing would be that if you see here, uh, in front of this instance type, you are able to see virtual CPU, memory. There's also a thing called instance storage, right? So in the instance storage column, if you see the values, it says EBS only for most of it, which means if you go for this particular instance type, let's say if I go for T2 micro or T2 large or whatever, or if I go with M5 series machines, I would not get any instance store. There are few instance types though where you will see instance storage available. For example, if I go with M5D X large, then I'll get one disk of 150 GB, which will be instance store. Please understand, this is instance store, that local disk which is temporary, that one. It is not the disk where my operating system would sit. As I told you already, the the disk where operating system is going to get installed or it is going to sit would be EBS volume, and we add the EBS volume on the at the step number 4. Okay, so because I want to show you this thing, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and use an instance sorry, an instance type which has got disk as well. Okay, instead of just showing you a demo with T2 micro, I'm thinking we'll go ahead and do with this one, right? And what I'm also thinking is we can actually go back and change it to Windows, you know, so that we can quickly go ahead and see things. Let me see, let me select Windows 2016 and I'll say next, and here I'll go ahead and try to choose M5D dot large. Okay, this is not going to be free. uh, if you are launching M5D dot large, you'll be charged for it. Only T2 micro and T3 micro comes as part of free thing. Press on next and then you get a couple of additional options here, guys. Of course, how many instances do you want? You know what, I wanted to show you one more use case, so I'm gonna put here 2. So what it would do, it would actually launch 2 EC2 instances. Okay, and I will show you that what property would be common in that. Of course, all these properties which I'm going to select below are going to be common, which means they are going to be launched in the same VPC, in the same subnet, all of those things. Now, please understand, those of you who do not understand VPC, subnet, etc. in detail at this point, don't worry about it. We are gonna do that as well in the upcoming sessions. Okay, but for now, we will understand EC2 and its related attributes properly in this session. That is my intention. So we'll choose default VPC for now, because VPC in itself is a big topic. But if before you join the next session, I would actually request you that go ahead and watch some of the VPC videos on our channel. So I'm just going to select a subnet. As we had discussed in the last session, if you remember, there are different availability zones which are named like US East 1F, 1B, 1C. So these are different availability zones, and there is one subnet in every availability zone. So I can select any one subnet. Auto assign public IP. Do I want to give this machine a public IP? Yes, I would say give it, because that's the only way I would be able to connect to this machine from my laptop. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, okay, go ahead and give it a public IP. Uh, then there is placement group and capacity reservation. We will skip this for now. Anybody who is curious, I will update the link of the videos in the description later on. You can go ahead and watch it. We have detailed videos on this, but I'm just trying to be a bit cautious of the time. So you can watch that, and if you have any doubts, please post it, and I'll try to answer that. Okay. uh, Domain join directory. If you want, you can even because it's a Windows machine, it can join a domain, right? How in your organization all your machines or laptops in the office, they are joined to a window, to an AD domain, right? Same way, you can go ahead and join this particular machine as well to a domain. That is possible. AWS has got directory services. There's a service called directory services. Uh, with that, you can run a complete Microsoft Active Directory, and your instances can join to that. You also have an option where you can make use of your on-prem Active Directory as well. There is something called AD connector available as part of directory services, which can help you do that. But those are, of course, additional topics. IAM role, we'll talk about IAM role as well a bit later on once we cover IAM. This is a method to delegate rights to this machine, but I think we'll do it one by one. Both the instances which are gonna get launched are gonna be in same AZ in this case, because whatever attributes we are choosing here, those attributes only would be passed to both the instances. So yes, they'll come up in the same AZ in this case. But I'm doing this to show something specific to you guys. Okay. CPU options. If you want, you can also give CPU options. So this is basically if you want to, let's say, disable hyperthreading, or if you want to use lesser number of cores. For that purpose, it gets used. So there is a video on this as well on the channel. You can go ahead and watch that in detail. I'll put those videos in the description, and I would request you to watch it there, because these are additional smaller topics which in itself might take 15-20 minutes to talk, okay, properly if I have to. So I would request you to watch it there. I'll put the links in the description later on. So you can come and check this video later on for all those items. Okay. Shutdown behavior. Whenever I go ahead and stop this virtual machine, what should happen? Should it go to stopped state, or it should be terminated? What's the difference? If you stop the machine, you can start it again, correct? But if you terminate it, it cannot come back. So that's the difference between the two. You can enable termination protection. If you want, you can enable detailed monitoring as well. What is the difference between detailed CloudWatch monitoring and standard or normal monitoring? By default, when you launch this instance, there will be some amount of CloudWatch monitoring which happens on your machine. But this CloudWatch monitoring would be the standard, which means it would monitor different metrics at 5 minutes frequency, right? Um, so there's a question from Prakash. Can we just go through all the steps of not actually? Yes, you can do that. You will get charged only when you finally launch the instance. Then only you get charged. Okay, so the basic monitoring which I was talking to you, every metrics like CPU utilization, network in, network out. Also, there are many such metrics. I'll show you. So these get monitored at 5-minute frequency by default, and you do not get charged for it. Okay, but if you enable detailed monitoring, then the monitoring of these metrics start happening at 1-minute frequency. So you start getting more frequent data, I can say. And at that time, when you enable detailed monitoring, you get charged separately for it. We were talking about this one, right? EBS optimized, not clear. So somebody is saying font is not clear. I think so. I'm displaying on the same thing. Make sure you guys are watching the video in full screen and highest resolution possible. Um, okay, so EBS optimized, you can see by default it is checked. I cannot uncheck it. That's what I was telling you with all the latest generation instances. This is enabled. You have got tenancy option. This is important, you see. You've got shared, dedicated, and dedicated host. So shared is the model where on one host, right, instances from multiple customers can run. That is the default model as well. I was showing you right in the diagram some time back that on one host, how we have instances from multiple customers. So that's what is the shared tenancy. If you want, if your customer or your organization wants that a dedicated host, should be there only for you, then you can go ahead and do that as well. It is possible, and you can do that when by choosing dedicated option. Okay. So I mean, it can help you many times with compliance, guys. Please understand. Sometimes people think that whether shared tenancy instances are gonna be lesser secure than the dedicated ones. That's not the case. It has nothing to do with security, really. It has more to do with compliance and other stuff. Okay, so I'll choose shared here. There's a detailed video on this as well. I'll leave the description. I'll leave it in the description. You have elastic graphics. Nowadays it is possible that you can go ahead and add basically graphics card. You can think you can add to your instance based on your need. By default you need not have it, but if you have some complex processing which you want to do with this machine, so you can go ahead and add this. So there are some couple of videos which I would request you to watch after this session. So you can go ahead and do that. You can also specify user data here. User data is the script which gets executed once your instance is launched. For example, you want that couple of software, 2-3 softwares should get installed on your machine once your machine is created. So you can put the script for it here. How you write PowerShell script, right? You can put the PowerShell script here. Same way in the Linux, if you're launching a Linux machine, you can put, that shell script, how we write, that way you can put here. And that gets executed automatically once your instance is launched. There are also a few other things related to this metadata being accessible. This thing came very recently. If you remember, I think it was Capital One, if I'm right. Yeah, I think so. It was Capital One. For Capital One, there was an issue which had happened some time back where, because of one of their applications, it actually extracted the instance information and was able to give it out to another application. Something of that sort had happened. You can read about it in detail. But basically, in order to restrict that how much further the metadata information can go, these fields have been introduced. Okay, we'll talk about that as well in some time. Let's just move ahead. I'm just trying to look at the time as well. So here is the thing, the root volume, you see, got added here. I had told you in the step number 4 you will have this root volume added, and here the size is 30 GB. If I want, I can go ahead and change this as well to 50 GB, right? And this is of course general purpose. You can change it to provisioned IOPS. There's an older one called magnetic as well, but everybody is using general purpose SSD these days. Okay, currently it is not encrypted. If you want, you can encrypt it as well while you are launching this instance. You can encrypt your volume as well. It is possible. Now here is the thing, you see ephemeral 0 is written. So this is the instance store. Do I get an option to change the size for it? No, the size gets fixed, and how many do you get, that also gets fixed. You remember here we had chosen, I think, m5d.large, and with that we get one disk of 75 GB. So that's what we are getting. Okay, so please understand how much instance store you will get always depends on the instance type which you are choosing. All right, so let us go ahead and we can give some tags. Tags are really important, guys, because when you have 30, 40, 100 instances in your environment, how are you going to, recognize them? How are you going to categorize them? You know, it would become very difficult if you do not have tags, available. So you should actually apply all the necessary tags. For example, you might be interested in applying cost center as well, right? It's generally a practice that people do not put space, so you put some cost center. You you can even go ahead and put some purpose, that for what purpose it is getting used, maybe some testing and evaluation purpose, right? So you can put whatever tags you want, and later on you can group via these tags. You can see this will get applied to instance and volume both. We'll put on next. Next thing is security group. Security group is just like an additional firewall, on your EC2 instance. So on this instance, if I go ahead and install, um, there is a question on what basis IOPS are calculated. Um, so, okay, this is a good one. I think I should just show that. Uh, if you see, when I write here 50, here you will see it becomes 150. If I go ahead and make it, let's say 70, you will see it will become 210. So it is 3 IOPS per GB in case of general purpose SSD. Okay, it is 3 IOPS per GB. Um, you can see it became 120. But if I choose provisioned IOPS, then what would happen? I get a different text box to specify IOPS itself. Because in case of provisioned IOPS, the IOPS is not dependent on the size of the disk. You can specify that separately. That's a good thing. Of course, it is costlier. Okay. Uh, Good. Let me see, guys. Okay, I hope so. You're clear on that part. Uh, does increasing the size of storage will result billing more? Of course, they are not giving for free, right? It will increase. And how much, if you want to know, you should just Google EBS pricing and you will know how much is the price per GB. In case of EBS or in case of EC2 instance, the way pricing works is whatever size you put for EBS, you get charged for that size, right? Well, for example, I've put 40 GB now, so I'll get charged for 40 GB. Doesn't matter I'm using 20 GB inside that or 10 GB inside that. That doesn't matter really. Okay. Whereas with some other services, it won't be this way. But at least in case of EC2, when you look at the disk or the storage volume, this is how it works. Okay. All right. So we were talking about security group, guys. Security group is just another. Um, it is just another layer of firewall. I was saying. So let's say you guys know that any operating system, whether it is Windows or Linux, at the OS level there is a firewall. If you, let's say, on my machine, if I run some software on port 80 or port 8080, in order to make it accessible to the outside world, I need to open that port, right? At the OS level. Same way, I'll have to open it here in the security group as well. Okay. So here, let's say for this particular instance, I will do two things. I'll open port 80 as well, and I'm opening it from anywhere. This particular thing is source. So if you put like this 0.0.0.0/0, then that means anywhere. Okay. So that's what we are doing. We can call it, we can call it, whatever, demo SG, and say next. And now we'll go ahead and launch this. So when you launch this, you need to create a new key pair. Okay. So I'm going to call it this thing. I'll just try to download this. And then we'll launch the instance. Oh, I forgot something, which is that we also have another SCP applied. Okay, now this is a bit bad thing. Um, so I'm using one of my accounts where we had put certain SCPs, guys, and that's why it failed. And that SCP actually stops me from launching anything other than T2 Micro. Oh, how bad. So in interest of time, what I could do is I cannot, if I want to disable it, I need to go to the other account. That will take a lot of time. So, okay, I think just, for now, I'm gonna launch it like this. Now, if we do this thing, we are going with the Linux machine. You can see the ephemeral volume or the instance storage is gone. I'm sorry for this. I did not remember that actually in this one we have that problem. So we also need to change things a bit. The security group actually got created, and it has got created with 3389 because that was a Windows machine. But in this case, we would require. Now I have chosen Linux, I suppose. Let me change the AMI to Windows itself. 1 minute, I'm not sure. Did I change the AMI? No, I've not changed the AMI, so it should be okay, guys. Sorry for confusing you there. Let's review everything here at the last step. It is Windows, it is T2 Micro, 83389 should be okay. We'll say launch, and we are launching two machines. Let's see, it should come up. Yep. So we actually had, as part of another lab or class which we were doing, we had put some service control policies at the organization level, and in that exercise, we had disabled ability for people to launch uh, anything other than T series instances. So because of that, M series failed. I did not remember that. Sorry. So now you see these two instances are getting launched, and in these two instances, let us look at some of the properties which are really important, which I wanted to show you. That's why I launched these two. Uh, okay, are you guys able to follow whatever I'm explaining? Please comment and let me know. And if you are finding it useful, please go ahead and like this video and share it as well, guys. Okay. Um, All right. So if I select these instances, there are few things which are quite easy to understand. Of course, you have got a public IP, public DNS, private IP, private DNS. Public IP we'll use if you want to connect from my machine, right? If you want to connect from outside, you can always, if you want to connect from outside, you will have to use the public IP. Whereas if you want to operate within your network, you can use private IPs, right? From one machine to the other, I can connect via private IP. But from outside, from my laptop, if I want to connect, I will have to do via public IP. The very important point which I wanted to show you here is this one. Now, this I will put as a question. Let me see who can answer this. Reservation, you see, there is reservation and there is some value written here. And after that, there is something called AMI launch index, and the value for that is 1. Let me choose let me choose the second instance. You see the reservation thing is same and the AMI launch index is 0. Who can answer what is this reservation? We'll pause here for few seconds. Let's see if you guys can answer this. Do you know this thing? Those of you who are already working on AWS, do you know this? I was telling you, right, that we will talk about things which not many other people talk. Still, there are many people who do not want to like this video. How many times I'm saying like this video, like this video? I'll not say it after this. Okay, leave that. Okay, anybody, do you know, guys, what is meant by reservation here? Um, as you guys saw, I launched this video, I launched this instance in front of you, and I did not do any reservation as such, right? I did not go and do reserved instances. If I go and do some reserved instance, that will appear here on the left hand side in the reserved instance area. Here it would appear if it is a reserved instance, that the we try and block it for 1 year or 3 year. If you want to do that, then that's what it is. Okay, no problem. Let me explain you this. Yeah, because these are things which people would not be interested in explaining. Many of them do not even go here and check this. Okay, so here is the thing, guys. So this reservation is actually the capacity reservation which happened for your instance in Amazon data center. You can think it that way. Whenever you are launching an instance, right? Whenever you are launching an EC2 instance, it got some capacity for some time, right? When I launched this instance, it has got some capacity on some host, on some physical host, right? So this reservation number signifies that. Later on, but don't confuse this with reserved instance. It is just the capacity reservation. You can think that you are getting some X amount of capacity on some machine. It is just to specify that you are not even you will not even know that it is that which machine and all in this case. Okay, but it is just to signify that. And if you see, for both of the machines, the reservation number is same. Why? Because both of these got launched together. Okay, so this number is same for both of them to kind of relate that both of them got the capacity together. It doesn't really mean that both of them would be there on the same host. No, it does not mean that. They can be on completely different hosts, guys, but they got the capacity together at the same time. They got launched together, you can think. That part is signified with this. Okay, now, what is AMI launch index? If I launch two machines, it just follows array convention. One of them would have 0, next one would have 1. If let's say I would have launched 4 machines, then you will see 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so when we launch 4, they will get numbering like this. This is to identify that those 4 which you had launched, which one got launched first, then second, then third, and fourth, like that. So that's the meaning of these two things. You can also see tendencies, default, and all the other different attributes. Now now that this instance is launched, let's do one thing. We'll try to get its password. So when you do this, you'll have to go and select the key which we downloaded just now. Let me see if I can select that, and we'll set decrypt password. So we'll get the password. Let me see. There are a couple of questions here. Is this following same rule in ASG also? I mean, index value. No, because uh, when the instances get launched separately, then I mean, for all of them, the index value would be 0. That's how it is. Yep. Okay. Now let me quickly log in. We have already nearly completed an hour. Wow. Let me just get inside this machine quickly, guys, and we have more items to discuss as well. I'm just trying to log into this machine. Give me 1 second. Okay. Now, there was also one more question which we wanted to discuss, which is that, so this thing has taken over. We'll just bring it here. I hope you would be able to see this. Okay. So yes, it is perfectly possible. You are in, once you are inside the machine, you can go ahead and change the password to whatever you like. One other question was whether we should use the same key pair for every machine, or we should use different key pairs for every machine. So guys, really in an enterprise setup, I'm seeing that you guys are not able to see this particular thing. But I think, okay, the whole point is I was able to get inside the machine, setting up an IIS on that. I'm not gonna spend time on it. You guys can do it on your own. We have other important points which we would like to discuss. Now, the thing is, if if you go ahead and attach the same key pair with all the machines, that might not be a very great thing. uh, Ideally you should try to group the instances based on their purpose, based on their needs. So let's say you are launching 5 machines for a particular team. In that team there will be one person who can own the key, uh, you know for those 5 machines, and you let him use that key and probably get the first time password. That could be one way. There are also other mechanisms which people do. uh, I can launch a Windows machine without any key pair altogether. That is also possible. Then question is, how would I get inside the machine? If you join your machine with the domain, then your domain credentials will start working on the machine, which means you would be able to log in with your organization credentials and get inside that machine. Same way, in case of Linux, people can go ahead and either integrate it with some system like LDAP or something, or they can you can use tools like Ansible, Puppet, Chef, etc. to create users inside the Linux machine. Those are additional topics we would cover at some time. But all what I'm trying to say is, keeping one key for every machine might not be a good idea. What you could do is do a grouping. If there are 10 machines for one particular purpose to one particular team, go ahead and give one key to those 10 machines. Um, there are a few status checks here. Both of these have passed. You can see, which means our instance is okay. Everything. There is monitoring here. Currently, it is basic monitoring. You can see there are different different um, metrics available here, and you can see monitoring has started. Tags have also appeared here. So I think this part is fine. What we'll do is, uh, what is root device and what is block device? So block device is basically, it is just to identify all the all the uh, EBS volumes which have been attached to the instance, right? And within that, there can be multiple block devices, right? You might have 4 or 5 volumes attached to your instance, but root volume would be only one out of it, which is nothing but uh, the one where your operating system sits, the first one. Okay, so what I would like to do is, I would like to go back to the I would like to go back to the PPT now. All right, so let us see. Um, we we talked about a couple of things. AMIs we talked. Let's discuss about few other stuff. So here is the thing, guys. The machine which we launched just now, uh, it is possible to go ahead and stop that machine. It is possible to go ahead and start it again. It is also possible to reboot it. Okay, these are two different operations. Many times people do not get clarity on it. So here is a table which I've put to kind of explain that to you. Okay, when you reboot an instance, the EC2 instance, you will have to do some of it. Okay, if you want to learn really, you launch the machine and you reboot it. At the top you will see an option. You go ahead and reboot that. The instance stays on the same host, on the same physical host. Underlying hardware does not change. But if you go ahead and stop your machine and start it again, the underlying hardware changes. What does that mean? You see, if suppose this particular VM, I go ahead and stop and start this VM, it might happen that this VM can go ahead and get launched on some other physical host. That's how it would work. If you stop and start, underlying hardware would change. But if you just reboot, it would not change. Okay. Now, what about the public IP? Public IP of the instance would not change when you reboot the instance. It would remain as it is. In case of stop start, public IP gets released and again a new public IP would be assigned. Private IP, it would never change. Okay, you stop the machine, start it again, or you reboot it, private IP would not change. There's also something called elastic IP. Elastic IP is a static public IP actually. And if you use elastic IP, then there won't be any effect on it. Whether you stop your instance or start it or reboot it, it would not change. It would just remain there as it is. Um, I would request you guys, those who are really interested in learning stuff, make some notes while we are talking. There are a couple of videos which I told earlier, which I would request you to go ahead and watch. I would also request you to go ahead and watch an elastic IP pricing related video. Okay, all of these things are there on the channel. You can go ahead and watch and build upon it. Instant store volumes, the temporary volumes which are there, they will lose the data if you stop the machine and start it. Okay, whereas on a reboot it would not, the data would not go away. Okay, that's the difference. We were talking about those ephemeral volumes, right? Instant storage volumes which are temporary. When you reboot the machine, the data on that does not go away. Only on stop and start it goes away. And some of you, if you want to know the reason for it, if you think the first line which is written, that is the reason for it, right? Because you see, let's say this machine had this instant storage volume. Okay, now when you stop this machine and start it again, what will happen? Later on, when you start it again, this VM might come up on some other physical host, but this disk will not go away from here, right? That's why the data on the instant store gets lost. Whereas on reboot, the machine comes up on the same physical host, or it is there on the same physical host. It is just an OS level restart. That's why the data doesn't go away of the instant store. Okay, all right. So and the EBS volume, of course, is persistent, right? So because it is persistent, so what would happen? Even if you reboot or if you stop start, the data will be there as it is. In terms of billing, understand that in case of reboot, a new billing cycle doesn't start. Whereas in case of stop and start, every time your machine reaches goes into starting state, a new billing cycle starts. Okay, what I'm trying to say is if within 1 hour you go ahead and stop your machine for 2 times, so stop and start, that will mean 2 billing cycles. Whereas in case of reboot, it would still be 1 billing cycle. Okay, so every time your machine stops and then starts, it means, you know, it means that a new billing cycle started. So when will you stop the machine? Let's say you want to stop, you don't want to use the machine for the whole night, then you stop the machine and go home, right? Uh, Maybe typically your dev test environment, you will actually stop the machine in the night when you are not working, and then when you come back, you can start it. Whereas reboot is simply if you just want to do an OS level restart, you can reboot the machine. Is this clear, guys? Now let us talk about the this question that what kind of data can we store on instance store. You should not use instance store to store any persistent data, any temporary data. It can act as some form of cache. It can act as a temporary area where you bring some data, process it, and then store it outside onto some other storage. um, just for that purpose. It is a disk, locally available disk, which you can use to bring some data, keep there temporarily while you are processing it, and once you have processed it, you move the data out. And once you stop the instance, yes, the EC2 billing stops. Okay. All right, guys. Let's discuss the EC2 instance types. Nowadays, there are so many instance types that it is very, very confusing that, what stands for what. So whenever you look at an instance type, this is how the naming convention would be. For example, M5A dot X large. So you need to understand how to decipher this basically. So the first character tells the family, right? So for example, M belongs to general purpose family. C would belong to compute optimized family. Within M, you have within general purpose family, you have T series as well. But basically, the first character tells you the family. And with family, you will understand that this particular instance type will have certain features. Anything which is general purpose will have a balance of CPU and RAM. If you go for compute optimized family, it will have more CPU compared to RAM. If you go for memory optimized family, it would have more RAM compared to CPU, right? So there are different families created for different needs, of course, right? That part you understand. Now, whenever a new family starts, right, it would start with first generation. So the second character tells you about generation. Okay. So whenever a new family starts, it starts with generation 1. And as time passes, new generation keeps coming. As you can see that now, very recently, last week, sixth generation instances got launched, right? And then there is this third character, which is like A. It could be A, it could be G, N, D. These type of characters you see. All these characters specify some property. A means that it is using AMD processors. G is there for graviton processors. These are different types of processors. Um, N is there for nitro based machines which can support high network throughput. Okay, so you should know some of these so that you can quickly identify. D is that particular type where it has got local instance storage disks, right? So those instance types, that's why we were choosing M5D, you remember? So that's your third character. Sometimes you will also see as M5AD, so which means it is using AMD processor, plus it has also got local disk. Okay. Earlier, AWS was using only Intel processors. That's why there was no third character. It used to be M5 dot large, M5 dot X large, like that it was. We did not have that third character, but now we have that as well. And then there is a dot. After the dot, you have large, X large, small, medium, micro. That basically just tells how big the instance is. So that was, a breakup of the instance type. I hope you are able to understand that, and you'll be able to figure out that, what is an instance type by looking at it. The next thing is about pricing. Let us just take a couple of questions here. uh, does new generation has any bearing on hardware technology? I do not understand that question completely. Maybe can you make it simpler for me? Can we migrate old generation to new generation like restoring snapshot? Yes, you can do that, Deepak. You did not even take snapshot route. If you most of the times, if things are compatible, you can just stop the instance and do change instance type. At the top, you will get an option of change instance type. You can change another instance type and you can just start the machine. Some of the times where there may be compatibility issues, yes, you may take snapshot and then restore from snapshot. basically create an image from your existing machine, then use that image to launch a new instance. Um, all right. When you upgrade the generation, how will it impact billing? You should go and look at the pricing, guys. Most of the times, when a new generation comes, its price won't be higher than the older generation. They try to keep the price either same or lower. But still, you should always go and check the pricing in the calculator first. Yes, T2 large is also an instance type. Um, Praneeth is asking, what about the 6G instances? So yes, the 6G instances which are launched very recently, they are using Graviton processors, and based on certain tests which have been done and results are published, it looks like they are giving better performance and at a lower cost than the Intel processors in many of the scenarios. Um, there was a very good video by James Hamilton. I did share it on LinkedIn, uh, or anyway, you can also go ahead and find it out. But if you are connected with me on LinkedIn, you will continue to receive good stuff. So please choose to do that. Um, let's talk a bit on pricing as well. In case of pricing, or pricing is a huge area. Um, you know so let's do this way. What we'll do is we'll try to answer a couple of questions, guys, whatever you ask. In terms of pricing, of course, there is on demand, reserved. Just looking at time, I'm not sure if will be able to cover this in detail now. We have already uh, crossed our time. So what I'll do is I'll actually request you guys to look at my some of my pricing videos, okay, um, where all of this is explained in a lot more detail. I can just talk for a few minutes, but then see, on demand is when you're launching the instance. As I launched now, I will get charged on demand basis. For Amazon Linux and Ubuntu, I will be charged per second basis. But if I'm going with Windows, RHEL, SUSE Linux, I would still be charged per hour. Many times people do not realize this thing. They think everything has become per second. That is incorrect. If you know that you are gonna use if you know that you are gonna use an instance for a longer duration, then you can go ahead and reserve it and actually get a lot of discounts. So that's where reserved instances come into picture. I'll uh, I'll update few links. There is a pricing playlist actually, guys. On our channel, if you go and watch that pricing playlist, most of your questions should be answered. And if you have any questions, please do write in the comments, and I'll try to answer that. Okay. Uh, I think for now I'll take few questions, and after that we'll close the session. Uh, I do request you that please do share this video with your friends. Let us see. If you have questions, you can put it in the chat. I'm trying to look at it. If we terminate the Anand is asking, if we terminate the uh, instance, what happened to the EBS stored data? From EBS, you can launch a new instance type. Well, the default behavior is that if when you terminate an instance, the root volume gets deleted along with it. But if you want to keep it, yes, you can keep that as well. And then you may go ahead and create a snapshot from it, and then an AMI, and launch an instance from that. But yeah, so that's how it is. I mean, it is in your hands basically whether you want to keep the EBS volume when your instance gets terminated. There is a property available at per EBS volume level, and while you are launching the instance, you'll be able to see that property. Do it, and you'll find that on the step number 4. Okay. Birendra, the question which you are, I'm not able to understand the question really. Uh, so Prashant, how will it impact the listening cost if I'm you? I think you're meaning licensing cost if you are using your own AMI. If you build your own AMI and import into AWS, then you will be charged only for infrastructure. You will not be charged for OS licensing. Okay, that's how it works. I request you to type correctly, guys. Um, which is better option, to go with default or purchase the own license? It really depends that what type of deal you are able to break. If you are able to talk to the OS vendor directly and you are able to negotiate costs which are a lot lower, you are able to get discounts, then go ahead for that. Otherwise, use what Amazon is providing. What are differences between nano, macro, small? The difference is the size. Okay, if you go and look at their sizing details, you will be able to understand. Somebody asked that, can I explain all the different instance types in detail? Guys, I think I gave you the crux of it already here. What you can do is, if you just go ahead and type AWS EC2 instance types, you will land onto a page where you can see complete details and the properties. Those properties are for you to read, and that there's nothing to explain as such. The logic which is there behind the naming convention and how things work, that I think I've explained you. All right. Any other questions, guys, which you would like to ask? Else, we will go ahead and close the session now. I would request you to join our LinkedIn group, and you can actually start posting questions and interacting in the LinkedIn group. That would be a good idea. So that way, while you guys are studying during the whole week, that time also you can ask questions and it will get answered. I'll also try to answer. There are many of our other friends also who do answer that. Okay, and as I told you, you can support us in different ways by sharing the video, liking this video, and if you want to support, you can also join the channel. Some of you joined today. Welcome to the family. Okay, while you are joining, please read the benefits and then join it. Now there are so many comments, so probably your thing got skipped, so you might have to type again, or you may use option of super chat as well. But type it again. I'm not able, maybe the comment has already gone up. How do you know what type of instance to choose? It depends on the applications which you want to run, right? If you want to run let's say Tableau or ClickView, then you will go ahead and use a memory optimized thing. If you want to use something which is more of CPU intensive, then you go for compute optimized. Okay. um, So there's a question that what is the difference between custom this and anywhere? No, there's no difference. 0.0.0.0/0 means anywhere. Can you share LinkedIn profile? Uh, yeah, why not? Do one thing. Just expand the description of this video, guys, and you will find all the relevant links there. Okay, this is for all of you. Just go to the description of this video. You will find all the relevant links there. Okay. All right, I think we covered some of the stuff. There are a few additional things which I would request you to cover. I will give you videos for that. What I'm gonna do is, as I said, in some time, I'll go ahead and update the description of this video uh, with few additional videos. I can also put it as a comment and pin it, so you can go ahead and watch that. So we will go ahead and then close the session for now. And yes, we will continue to have this every weekend. That's how it is. Those of you who have joined us today for the first time, please type in the chat window if you have joined today for the first time. I would request you to go ahead and watch our playlist for this. You will find the playlist link in the description. We are running these sessions every weekend, 9 to 10 a.m. IST, and you can be part of this series. Uh, the URL where you are watching this video would be available on this URL. So you can watch it once again, or any of the points which you would like to see, you can watch that. So capture the URL, you know, share it somewhere, and go and refer the playlist, guys. That will really help you. Just go to the description section and go to the playlist, and you can check all the relevant playlists, playlist and important links in the description section. Please check it out immediately. um, the Zen KVM, now the hypervisor which AWS is using is Nitro, which is their own developed hypervisor, Daniel. Okay. All right. So great. As I said, you will get all the relevant um, links in the description section. Okay. Just read it for 2 minutes, and you will have all of it there. All right, guys, we will go ahead and close the session with that. I hope to see you once again next week. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Continue to practice and make sure that you cover all those videos before you come for the next week's session. Those of you who are really interested and serious about it. Okay, so I'll update this video description and comments in some time. So take care, and we will meet again next week, same time, 9 a.m. IST. Bye bye.